Okay, so it's about time to give Swiffer her first bath in a long time. 3 months, in fact. We're in the turret suite. There's a bathtub in here, so since it's been 3 months, we figure we'll use the tub because she's going to be a dirty critter because she had her cast on and then she had surgery. She got her belly to be broken. I don't say fixed. Of course, I guess that's
she was
fixed.
Spayed 2 weeks ago, yesterday.
Yep. So she gets a bath. She'll be white again. Go ahead.
She's filthy. I gotta get my hair up.
Give her a bath.
I gotta get my hair up.
Well, you can put her in there.
I don't want her. Okay.
Go ahead.
Can you put your feet down? I got her.
I'll get her wet. Yeah, Swiffer. Get in a bath. I don't want no bath. That's been half of my life not getting a bath. What's going on? I don't even remember what this is.
I got her, love. Doesn't it feel good, that warm water?
And if you don't want to watch this, you can skip to the fun stories we'll do at the end here of the ministry. We didn't want it to be totally all negative. We've got a lot of positive experiences as witnesses, and some of it is the ministry just gets pretty funny, some of the things that happen, so we're going to share some of those experiences.
Good girl. Good girl. Oh, thank you.
So you need a whole bottle or what?
Just go ahead and put some on there.
Purple? She's going to be a purple people eater.
Don't drink the water.
With purple, some sort of a whitening?
Yeah.
Just dip her in bleach.
No.
Probably enough bleach in that chlorine and it's in the water. They probably...
I hate that they treat the water, but, you know, I guess they don't really want germs.
No, it's so much better to drink chlorine.
Yeah.
How's that song go? Sipping on straight chlorine. Which, I don't know why they allow them to sing about that, because you know some idiots out there
Gonna do it.
that are going to, you know, chase their Tide Pods with it. You get this end, I'll get that end. It's an inside joke. Tiffany had a friend and they'd wash her dog, and every time her friend they'd wash the dog, it's like
she
her
wanted
friend...
me to get the butt end.
I'll get the head end, you get the butt end. Okay.
You got dirty toesies. You got dirty toesies. Surprisingly, she's not too bad. I mean, I've given her baths before she had her arm broken, and you know, there'd be like junk in the water, and she's not really that dirty. So I don't know how that's possible.
Well, she didn't go outside much. We kept her inside the entire time. She was on puppy pads. She's small, so...
She's house trained in here.
So she doesn't have to go outside for anything. And even when she did run outside, it was snow, so... And by the way, I should video that. That's what we've got again, is more snow today. Another stinking 4 inches of hideous white stuff.
Good girl, good girl. I'm gonna use that wand to really get the soap out with her hair. This is the arm she broke though, but I mean you can see how much skinnier it is with her hair now.
To get pretty straight at least.
Yeah. This is the one, the right side. Or it would be whatever one this is flipping on screen. I don't know.
It'll probably be opposite on screen, but turn that on.
Yeah, but I want to make sure it's not too hot.
There you go. There. Now we're not power washing you.
No. Swiffer. Can you just sit?
I'm done. This is it.
Getting me all wet, bug. Swiffer.
She's going to start exploding fur after this. 3 months, spring coming. Okay, I'm going to shut this off. Now it's just drying. Come here. Come here. here, jumping bean. Sit. Sit. I know you're only 8 months, but come on now. Sit. Stay. Get that out of your eyeball. There. Stay. 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 Stay.
8 months old. That's pretty impressive, little bug. Little Cookie Monster.
All right, you can have it.
Good girl, Swiffer. Hi.
Put that down.
This is not $100 scotch.
It's $3 wine.
It's $3 bottle of wine from Walmart. Which
some of us roll on a Stippens budget. Which
we drive 2 hours to Walmart for, by the way.
Yeah. That's where our $100 goes, is in the fuel.
Yeah, we spend a lot of money on fuel.
Anyway, we wanted to do a kind of a service, a fun time. We had a lot of, we enjoyed being witnesses. Can't any, as far as that all goes, we talked about the ministry being fun for us. And there were you still run into some interesting situations while you're out there. Some of them from witnesses, some of them from the householder. And those are kind of good times, fun, and we'd share these. That's another thing I want to say. We'd share these experiences with witnesses, whether they were bad experiences, because quite honestly, those strengthen and encourage, because everybody's gone through it, and you don't realize it until you start bringing them out. Oh, the brothers did this to me, or this happened to me, or that happened to me, and then they start talking about it. There was even an old sister. Sweet old sister would never say anything bad. And I always wondered why nobody ever talk about the real things that are going on. And anyway, she says, oh, I was talking to my son, who's not in the truth, and her husband said the most horrible thing about Jehovah's people, that we're a bunch of hypocrites, and her voice changed. And I'm like, whoa, truth coming out of that sister. But these are stories we always talked about and told people for the 15 years that we've been witnesses. I just never realized that Kim Jong-un was going to come out and chop off your family for saying anything critical about what was going on. So I didn't realize it was the Kim Jong-un regime. But apparently so. You can't say anything negative. So anyway.
So these are service stories, or stories that we know have experiences, I guess, that we've had.
And I think we'll try to keep it to the service stories just for time's sake. And we're not going to embarrass. We're going to keep it pretty clean. About the dirtiest one, there's one we've got that's hilarious, but we can't do it because it would identify the individual too much. So we're going to stay away from that one. But one that kind of goes along that vein is... remember, we were out in service, unassigned group. Because we live in unassigned territory, we're always going to get unassigned groups.
Every year.
But not necessarily this county. So, like, this county's only been worked now twice in the 15 years that we've been here.
10 years. 10 years. We've been here 10 years.
Oh, 10 years, yeah. We were witnesses 15 years. Yeah. 10 years it's been worked twice. So, anytime they tell you, oh, yeah, we're working the territories every year. No, you're not.
Baloney.
They're not. And they really don't care if they're worked, quite honestly. Coming from unassigned territory, I know they say they do. They don't. Well, that'll be a whole nother video.
Yeah.
But the time this unassigned group's here, and what happened? I'll let you tell the story.
You had this call, and it was kind of a bigger group. Obviously, we're in a van. Surprise, surprise. And
Jesus went out by 14s.
It was your call, and you took somebody with you, and the car group had obviously just stopped to get coffee, because that's what car groups do. And this brother had gotten hot chocolate. And as we're driving over to the call, he spills his hot chocolate on his pants.
So what's the normal person do?
The normal person is you grab your Tide pin and you tide it out. No, he doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. He takes his pants off in service. And then he takes his Tide pin and then he starts washing his pants. And he's right behind me. I'm sitting in the middle. He's sitting in the back. And then he says, open the door. And he hangs his pants on the door.
We're in a call.
At the house.
The pants are hanging out the window.
And I'm like, what the heck is this? And I'm like, I'm not turning around. I'm not turning. There's this guy sitting behind with no pants on, and we're out in service.
And the funny thing is, so they're staying with us, and I remember one of the sisters saying, "Oh, people talk bad about us brothers and sisters in California because, you know, Californication, but it's not that way. We're just like everybody else." Hate to tell you this, but not everybody else in service hangs their pants out the window. So
no.
Just
no.
So we'll leave that the first one. Back when to Idaho, here's a pretty funny one. This is a householder comedy one. I go to this door, knock on the door, notice she's got all her Christmas decorations up, and I said, "Yeah, I'm just here to discuss the Bible." And she's like, "No, I'm not interested in the Bible." And she starts to shut the door. I'm like, "So you're really not interested in God?" And she, "No, I'm not interested." And she starts to shut the door. I said, "You got all these Christmas decorations up, and you don't believe in Jesus." And she starts to shut the door one more time. It's like a cock crowed in her head, you know. And she's like, "I believe in Jesus. I just don't want to talk to you." Slam. So that was pretty hilarious. And,
okay, just say so.
Just tell me. I mean, I ain't getting paid for this. Just tell me. So another one, just come into the truth. This is a pretty funny one. And the brother I'm with, and I'm just watching, kind of observing how everybody else does their ministry. I'm not afraid. I just want to see how everybody else does it. And this older brother, he goes up to the door, and he's got a hobble, and we go up the deck, and he walks 5 feet across the deck, and I'm standing behind him, kind of where the stairs are, you know, 3-4 feet behind him, and he knocks on the door, and all of a sudden, "Get out of here!" He takes off like a bat out of hell, and he's like running me over to get down the stairs. He gets like 2 steps down, and the guy comes and goes, "Oh, I didn't even know somebody was at the door. I was yelling at the cat." So we came back up, had a good call with him. Pretty hilarious. Another one we had that was like that. Guy comes to the door, and this kind of shows how Pharisaic witnesses can be sometimes, or at least oblivious to what's going on. So we're at this guy's door. It's Saturday morning, right off the bat, first call. Knock on the door. The guy comes out, just cussing us up and down, just cussing us out. And I'm kind of holding back the snickers. The other brother caught the door. And we're walking back to the car. And he goes, "Well, that was a do not call, don't you think?" And I'm like, "No, we just woke him up on Saturday morning. I'd be cussing you out too." Don't you realize people that are normal sleep in on Saturday morning?
I sleep in on Saturday morning. After moving here, we didn't do Saturday service ever again because it didn't match up with our days. You know, we drive 70 miles to meeting, you know, and by the way, we didn't miss a meeting in 15 years. I take that back. One time we had smallpox or chicken pox or some dang thing. Anyway, we had pox on our face, so we didn't go anywhere. We had chicken pox together. Isn't that lovely? Sweet. For 2 weeks. And so we didn't go to the meeting, but everybody was bringing their kids over, like, "Oh, hug them, you know, get infected."
Get infected, so that way they, you know, share the witness love, brotherly love. But I suppose it's better now than when they're 80. Another one, go to a door and the guy's packing heat. He is hot, and he whips out his, you know, whatever pistol he's got, and he's waving it around and just ranting and raving. Whoa! So I happened to, you know, kind of calm down a little bit. You know, I said, "Well, what's going on? Did we do something? Should we not be here?" And he's like, "That people are stealing Christmas presents out of my car." So it turns out somebody had stole the Christmas presents out of his car, and he was going to show the Christmas spirit by waxing somebody. So, man, I'm just here to talk about Jesus. So we shared the scripture with him, and actually Tiffany wasn't there on that call. It was another sister was in the car group. She was like totally freaking out. Yeah, but we shared the scripture in Isaiah about, you know, sighing and groaning over the system of things. It ended up being good. He put the heat away, and it was a good call. Went back a few times after that. Another one, Jack. You remember Jack?
Jack was old.
Jack was like, he
must have been pushing 95, 100.
Yeah, he was in that age group. He was up there. And, I mean, he had some great stories about, you know, buying a car with no money down and driving it across the country. I mean, it's not like you had your address or anything, but that's how trusting people were. It reminds me of that scripture that talks about in the end times, that love of the greater number would cool off, and just because of the increasing in lawlessness or crime. And that's really the case when you consider that. But it shows how different things were, because he was talking about buying a car on one's coast and then driving it to the other coast without giving the guy a dime. Just said, "Hey, you know, I want to buy a car," and he says, "Just pay me back when you get wherever you're going." And that's what he did. And I ran into an old timer while I was restoring a cash register. Do I have that video up? I'll post it. Restored a 6-foot cash register and was dealing with a guy who restored these things, who was obviously from that time period. And that's what he did, is he just sent me all the parts, and he said, oh, pay me when you get it. I mean, not knowing who I am or whatever else. And of course I did, but that's pretty good. So anyways, we go to Jack's door, and what was he doing? He was like kneeling down, and I couldn't tell what he was doing.
Jack was, yeah, he was messing with like a combination lock.
There's like this box in his front yard when we walked up.
It was a camper.
Service.
It was a camper.
No. Oh,
yeah,
a lower camper door. Lower one. Not the main one, but the lower one. Anyway, and he's fiddling with it, and I'm, he kind of start my presentation with him, and he, is kind of not really paying attention, but kind of nodding his head as I speak, and I'm like, is this a bad time? Should I come back another time? He goes, oh, no, I'm fine. I'm just trying to get this lock open. And I'm like, I can't
see the numbers.
Yeah, but I can't see the numbers. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, you want me to get it for you? He goes, yeah. So I get down there, and I go, okay. So what are the numbers? And he says,
I forgot. Okay, well, he had them written down, so we got the numbers and we unlocked it for him, and it was good.
It was a great call. Yeah. Jack, to quote him, I threatened to read the Bible 1,000,000 times, but never did. And he was quite honest. He said he was afraid of dying.
Yeah.
And so we went over some scriptures about the resurrection, hope, and you'd be sleeping in the grave, and talking about John 11:11, and basically had a few studies with him about that subject matter, just try to give him some solace as he heads to sleep. But we go by there one day, and there's a newer truck sitting outside, and I'm like, uh-oh, maybe that's family. I just got a bad feeling about that. You kind of know that, family's going to get to people sometimes. And anyway, sure enough, we go back there the next week. We avoided it this week, and we'll go back next week. Go back next week, and he says, don't come around here anymore. I'm like, all right. So I leave, and then I wait a couple, 3-4 days, something like that. And I thought, well, just in case he's having a bad day, I'll go back again. And I go back again, and I go, Jack, I know you told me not to go back again, but I just thought I'd come by one more time and make sure that, and he kind of interrupts me, and he says, that's right, for Christ's sakes, leave me alone. And this unverbal conversation happens between me and Jack, because I look at him as if to say, but Jack, I'm here for Christ's sake. And he realized when he said, for Christ's sake, leave me alone, that's what I was there for. And so you can see his brain moving at the same time. And then he looks at me as soon as I say, but Jack, I'm here for Christ's sake. He looks at me as if to say, don't you say that. None of that part of the conversation ever happened. But it was so funny because it was like this conversation that happened that never did. It was hilarious if you were there experiencing it.
Yeah. And what's interesting about that is it wasn't even a month and he'd passed away.
Yeah.
So, the time we did have with him and that he did appreciate was well spent time.
Yep, definitely. So it goes to show that in witnesses in their ministry, and even at least in our ministry, and I'm not saying it's always the case, but we weren't interested in only having converts, so to speak. Yeah, go ahead. We're there to share Bible truths.
Exactly. If you don't want to be a witness, I could care less.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me, because what the Bible has told me is that I've got a commission to share God's word.
And that doesn't change right now, even as though we're disfellowshipped. So, another thing, when we first moved to Unassigned territory, small town, guy moving in with stinking, I don't remember how many U-Hauls we had full of Mustangs, but anyway, they wanted to do a run into the paper about us. And they're like, are you here to start a church? No, we're just here to share the Bible's message and encourage Bible reading. That was it. So fast forward to we're living in North Dakota now, and remember the creepy call.
He lived in that trailer.
Yeah, that was interesting. Go ahead.
I don't remember a lot about that. I just remember the line and feeling really creeped out. We only had 3 or 4 conversations with this guy. We were talking about different subject matters, and I just remember specifically this one, and he talked about spiritistic stuff quite a bit. A lot. And his trailer was like, when you look inside, because he'd walk out, when you look inside from the floor to the ceiling was full of trash. It was just
like a hoarder's place.
It was, but I mean,
I'm a pack rat.
But I mean, like garbage, not just stuff. Yeah. It was like cans and just trash.
Anyways, the creep out part is he said something about voices. I don't know if the guy had schizophrenia or demon problems or what, but at one point it was almost I don't know what you call that kind of conversation. It's something that happens, very spontaneous conversation. And the way he was talking, it was about the voices in his head. And all I remember saying at that point is going, yeah, but you don't have to listen to them. And it was like he was fighting through it. And he says, I'm trying, you know. And it was just the whole situation was very creepy. Mm-hmm. I'll say that. And I'm not one to get creeped out over spiritistic stuff. It's like, I should almost tell that story. This is, okay, not ministry. This new couple that comes from SKE school. And I don't care if they get peg-holed by this comment because it's just stupid. They said, so you're into the old antique things.
We have antiques.
Do you ever have anything weird happen?
Like in your house?
I'm like, what do you mean, weird stuff? Well, the antiques, you know, with demon problems? I'm like, they're like a dresser or something? What, no. Like demons? Demons are hiding in an old dresser? Yeah, matter of fact, there's this one time, and the spirit came up over me. And I'm quoting, by the way, the scripture in Job, if you know that. The spirit came up over me, and he said, are you out of your mind? It was just so ridiculous, the whole idea that a demon has nothing to do but hide out in my dresser drawer. And when I open my sock drawer, out comes the demon. And it creeps me out. Aren't we done with this Mike Warnke stuff? You know what? Even the Watchtower doesn't talk about this stuff anymore. The poltergeist 70s, 80s era is gone. And if you know who Mike Warnke is, he was a Christendom Jesus freak comedian preacher. You can look him up. Anyway, the whole thing was just absurd. You want to finish the second part of that? So I bring that up at a elders meeting we're having, and I say that, and then the next elder says,
my dad had problems with demons, and I know firsthand. And I was like,
my dad had problems. I know firsthand what he told me that's secondhand. So I know for sure it happened, because it's first, second hand. My dad could have never lied.
That's great.
And I'm not saying he's a liar. I'm just saying that ain't first hand.
That ain't first hand. That's not first hand.
I ain't saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying I've never experienced it. We've got another old Victorian house. It's called the Guest House. And people are saying, it's haunted. Oh, why do you say it's haunted? The curtains move. Those are lace curtains, and right below them is the radiators for the heat. Just pay attention a little bit. Reminds me of when I was a kid. Imagination goes wild. Now we're getting off onto other subjects, but it's still funny. I'm a kid laying in bed, you know, early teens, and I'm hearing this pitter-patter across the roof. All night long, I'm hearing this. I'm like, what's on the roof? It sounds like, you know, duck feet, but a duck ain't going to be out there in the night. It's got to be something, you know, gremlins is going on, right?
This is not service.
No, it's not service. I'm a kid, and I'm not a witness at the time. And I keep hearing this.
We're editing this out.
We're not editing it out. It's great. And I get up and I turn on the lights.
It's
There's
already
nothing.
20 minutes in.
Nothing. And I turn off the light.
We've got more.
Finally, at 5 in the morning, I turn on the lights. It's a moth flying along the ceiling, tapping. My imagination is going wild.
It's the wine.
I've only had a half a glass, so
We're
it
not
hasn't even
putting
hit
that in
me yet.
So the next story, I don't know why these are always
my calls.
Why they're your calls, yeah. I don't know. I guess just being a sweet little girl, I don't have these problems.
No, you know.
Okay, so he's got this call, and I'm with him at this call.
But there's a guy there that's not a call.
He's like a few houses down, and you can hear him just like hollering. Yeah.
Yeah! Down the block, because I'm doing this call.
And we're all like looking around like, what the heck is that? So he starts walking towards us.
Getting closer.
Down the street.
Yahoo! You know, And then we're both going to try to have this conversation with this guy, and yet, now this guy starts coming up the walk, and he hops onto the deck.
He hops onto the conversation and the deck, yeah.
So we're talking to him, and during the conversation, he like...
obviously just drunk.
Plastered drunk. he comes
right up to us and says,
I have an evil woman. My woman is evil. Just like that.
And we're like, okay.
The guy that's the householder, he
starts chuckling. And he says something about, oh, it's those spirits.
He was a black guy, so the way he said it, and I'm not being prejudiced. We all know black people, they can be hilarious when they put their emphasis on it. It's a cultural thing, probably not near as much as a color thing, but it was pretty funny. So
the spirits.
I have an evil woman.
Yeah.
My woman is evil. Funny thing is,
we studied with them.
Later on from that, we ended up having a study with them.
So they moved
to
another apartment building, and we caught them. Yeah, I want to study. Okay, I guess we'll learn who this woman is.
It turns out his parents, his mom was a witness, so that ended up being pretty humorous too.
Okay, next story.
All right.
We obviously live in North Dakota. There's lots of rural territory here, so we're doing calls.
The first 2 years we were here, we pioneered. The first 2 years we pioneered here, I should say, was great because pretty much we just went out and did unassigned calls.
We did whatever we wanted.
We were kind of operated independently of the organization. We were out there and we were just preaching. Not that we were independent. It's just that, we're up here. We're 70 miles away from the congregation.
It was just the two of us. We just did what we wanted to do up here, and typically that was unassigned calls.
We went to meetings every week, and, we still did stuff there, but we went out and serviced Sundays there, but nobody goes out on Sundays, despite the brothers totally doing a legal fight to be able to go out and service on Sundays. Nobody would go out on Sundays. It was like this thing they purposely wouldn't go out because we went out, and if we went out, we were taking the lead on that, and we're not going to let them take the lead because we're taking the lead. Anyway, that's what it was like.
So we're out doing rural territory, and so we're doing these unassigned calls.
Because they weren't getting worked.
Yeah, nobody was going to come up here.
Nobody works the unassigned calls because you got to drive 70 miles up here in order to do it.
I shouldn't say nobody works the unassigned calls. I should say nobody cultivates them.
Yeah, they'll go back.
They'll come up and throw a magazine in their door, but they don't care about these people out here.
And again, as I said before, the county we're in worked twice in 10 years.
And so we're like, you know what? We've been at it, and so let's take a little break.
Being a car guy. There's a
whole bunch of cars. Let's go look at the cars.
Nothing more I like to do than stop and go check out a shelter belt full of cars. And a shelter belt, if you don't know, if you're not from a farm territory, it's a belt of trees that they planted usually in I think it was the 30s and the 40s after the Depression, in order to stop erosion after the big old, Dust Bowl situation. So that's what a shelter belt is. Cars get stacked in these because you can't till it. So a lot of times farmers will rip out the shelter belt just to till more again, reversing what government does because that's what government does. What goes up must come down. Anyway.
Yeah. So we take a break and we're going to go look at all these cars. We're so excited. So we walk up to the front door. Knock, knock, knock.
We can see them in there. The place is like totally glass. And we're like, okay, well, what's going on? We knock on the door again. Finally, the son comes to the door. Hey, we ask for your parents home. Dad comes up. Well, we're not interested. And I'm like, not interested in cars? Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry. I thought you were Jehovah's Witnesses. We are.
But we're interested in cars.
His face just turned beet red. It was hilarious. Great guy. Checked out the cars. While we were out there, we got stuck in the mud.
We were driving like this little Mustang convertible that had no traction, and the roads get kind of muddy, and we got stuck out there. And so the two boys, they're teenage boys, they were like, okay, well, we're going to get you out of here. So they had the four-wheeler, and they were like pushing us out, and we just mudded there.
They were mud, one side down the other, but they loved it. They were having fun. So that was a pretty funny story, though.
So just to conclude the video, you got a couple of stories that have to deal with being at the hall during a meeting.
A couple congregation stories. If you've got them, share them with us.
Yeah, we love to hear funny stories, and both of these involve children. And the one just says, well, you heard somebody fart.
Loud. I mean, loud.
And the little boy turns to his mom, and he says loud during the meeting, "Mom, I farted."
I know, honey, I heard it.
Everybody heard it.
I'm not sure how the brother kept going on the talk. Second one, little kids run, right? So this little boy, he runs across the stage. Oh, his mom was hot. She was hot. Runs up there, grabs him, and is dragging him out the hall for some corporal punishment, right? And she's dragging him out, and as he's getting drugged down the hall, as he gets towards the edge of towards the end of the aisle, it's like, Jehovah, save me!
And of course, we all start chuckling, you know.
I'm sorry, little buddy, if you didn't save the prophets, I think you're SOL there. So that kind of ends our little funny stories. If you've got them, like we said, share them.
Post them.
We love them.
We'd love to hear
They're
them.
hilarious.
Keep them clean, but we'd love to hear the stories.
Absolutely. But until next time, little Swiffer theft.
She's wet still because she had her little bubble bath. Until next time, what's in your mouth?
Fuzz.
Oh no, it's starting. So, little Swiffer says, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you're immediately notified when we post a video, and leave us a nice comment.